All right. What we have here is a beef tenderloin. The tenderloin. Does anybody know where the tenderloin comes from? From the cow. What part? If I'm a cow, where's it at? Rose, you know? You think it's somewhere in the back. Clarissa, you know? It's not the leg. It's close to the back. It's on the inside cavity of the back. It's one of the only pieces of meat that comes from the inside of the cow. You might think that it's the loin back here, but that's where the New York strip and the prime rib come from. Okay? The tenderloin is inside, up against the rib cage. Okay? So, what we have here, we call this the cap, CAP. And there's a piece that's kind of clinging to it. But the main tenderloin is this piece right here, and we're going to clean off the fat and the silver skin. Okay? First, we're going to take off this cap. So I'm going to find the seam. Kind of put your fingers in a little bit, you'll see a seam. And this is still very tender. Some restaurants will cut a piece out like that and make a portion of filet mignon and sell it as part of the tenderloin, because it is part of the tenderloin. And it is very tender. Okay? So we'll just clean off a little bit of the outer fat. A little bit of the silver skin. I have 3 containers. One container is going to be for scrap pieces that we will roast and make beef broth out of. One's going to be for little nuggets and pieces that I'm going to use that we can eat. Little nuggets and pieces that we're going to use to eat. And this is going to be for our cleaned beef tenderloin, okay, that we're going to marinate. So scrap for broth, that is inedible, fat, silver skin, bristles. One that's going to be for edible scraps, so we can make beef tips out of. And then this is going to be for our clean beef tenderloin that we're going to use these ingredients to marinate. Some fat's okay. The beef tenderloin has very little edible fat. This one is a little more expensive. It's a choice cut. And there is some nice edible fat. So it just depends on how much you want to use. I'll put this over here in the edible container for now. Now I'm going to start working off the fat and silver skin on the top. I'm sorry, before that, I'm going to take off the chain. Before we do that, we have a piece called the chain. It's another attachment on the filet that has edible meat and silver skin and fat lined inside of it. So if we take our fingers, we can almost separate some of the chain. Okay. Now this chain has some nice meat that's still inside of it. And I'm going to take my time and clean this up because this is what you can create a lunch special out of, a beef tip lunch special. For those students that will not be in attendance tomorrow, I would like to wish you a safe and happy holiday break. I keep people with words to students back in facility January 4th, and at that time we will be referring to the face-to-face instruction for all students. Also at this time, I thank students are dismissed. Thank you. So what we're going to do now is we're going to remove some of this fat, and there is a silver skin underneath, an inedible tendon that is on the top of this. So we want to remove that. So I'm going to take my knife and very gently get right underneath that fat and run along the top. So we would be very careful as we get underneath to get this silver skin. See, this is a silver skin right here. That's underneath the fat. Fat we're not too concerned about, but this tendon right here, this is really inedible. I call it silver skin because if I scrape that down, you see that sheen. That's a tendon. That is not considered an edible part. So it has to be removed. So we're going to put our tip right underneath it. And I can actually angle my knife slightly upward to follow along. That way I'm not removing any more meat than I have to. I have the silver skin going this way. I can come backwards towards myself. Again, raising the knife slightly upwards. It's so tough that it'll let my knife run upward against it as though I wanted to cut through it. If it were beef, if it were the meat, I'd cut right through it. But that tendon's so strong, I can point my knife up along it and it'll run up along it without cutting through it. That tells you how tough it is and how we don't want to eat that, right? So right here we have some coming real strong. A lot of silver skin right here at the end. Okay, so this top is pretty clean here. Now we're going to trim up the side here. Some fat coming down along here. Okay, I'm going to put this in the edible pile because I have fat that's very edible, and then I have some nice tender filet. The rest of this is going to go into the edible pile. I'm going to consider fat that has meat attached to it edible because I like beef fat with meat attached to it. Okay? If you don't, if you only eat lean meat, then you can put it in the pile that you're going to cook and roast and render and use to make beef stock, okay? This bottom part, there's a lot of fat on this tenderloin because this was a very nice cow. Okay, very nice beef cow. it's up to you. Do you want to have this fat on or not? It's totally up to you. Uh, I think I'm going to remove most of it. Uh, for this instance, this is going to be a holiday roast, holiday grilled beef tenderloin that many different people are going to eat. And I'd say the majority of people don't prefer to eat a lot of loose fat attached to their meat. So I'm going to remove it and put it in my edible scrap pile and utilize it for perhaps another dish. Maybe a more select group of people that do prefer that amount of fat. Okay? So I'm going to go through just lightly trim. I'm going to leave a little bit. There's some really thin layers of fat on here. I am going to leave. But if I see some chunky pieces of fat, I'll just go ahead and remove them. Right here, this little fat cap hanging out on the side will who likes fat on their steaks and their meat? One, who doesn't prefer fat on their steak? So that vote right there, that's kind of what I have in my head from my experience as well, which is why I'm taking it off. It was about an 8-1 vote on the nays for fat for the people watching. Mike, I'm with you. I'm with you, country boy. Okay, being the fat lover that I am, I'm leaving this on because tenderloin is known for not being the most flavorful all the time, naturally flavorful because a lot of the flavor lives in the fat and it has very little of it. But whenever you pay extra money, you pay $13 a pound. That is about the most pretty high that you're going to pay for beef, okay? The most expensive cut on the cow. So we are going to I want to leave whatever little flavor is on there. So now we're going to switch over to seasoning, marinating mode. Okay. First, we're going to use extra virgin olive oil because we want the flavors to penetrate that oil and then therefore work those flavors into the tenderloin. So we're going to start with olive oil. It's a very basic marinade. Onion, garlic powder, pepper, herbs. So I have some fresh garlic. I'm going to cut. And the marinade's going to be kind of removed for the most part. By the time we serve it, we're going to grill it with some of these pieces stuck to it, but eventually they will fall off. So I'm going to use the skins of the garlic and all because they will be removed by the time I serve this. We have some rosemary, fresh rosemary. We will bruise, twist and bruise to bring the flavor out. Sprinkle that on. If you have to go. Yeah. I'm not going to put salt on because salt's going to actually cure it a little bit. And I don't want to cure it as it sits. I want to really control the salt. So I'm going to add pepper, but not salt until I cook it tomorrow. Okay? So sprinkle our pepper on. A little onion powder. Garlic powder, a little bit more garlic because I love it. Okay. Turn it over. Rub it around. Okay, we're going to hit it again. Pepper, onion, garlic, and rub it around really nice. And then we're going to wrap this up and let it marinate, let these flavors really penetrate into the tenderloin. And tomorrow we're going to grill it. We're going to mark it, put grill marks on it, and get a nice char mark on the outside. Okay? Talk more about how we're going to finish it from here. This is going to be served off-site, so I'm going to use our grill to char it and mark it, but keep it rare, raw to rare on the inside. And then we're going to cool it down, take it to its off-site location, and then it will be finished to medium rare in an oven when it is at its final destination. Okay? Any questions on the cleaning, marinating, seasoning of the beef tenderloin? Great. Thank you very much.